now like to invite Principal, the President of Pearl School, Mr. Sam Matthew, to formally welcome the virtual gathering. Over to you, sir. Sir, just give me a minute. I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jayashree. Very, very good morning to all of you and a very warm welcome. I'm not at all an expert in this subject, but this is an area which will impact the domain of my work, which is human resources. What I understand is basically by artificial intelligence, we or the scientist enables the machines to think. So far, the machine used to work. Now, a capability of logical reasoning is imbibed into the machine so that it replaces half of what human being does. There is a report by McKinsey a few years back, which predicts that 50% of the job which is done by humans today will be replaced by the machines. Basically, you are talking about two things. One is artificial intelligence, and second is the machine learning. See, it has a plus side. That means it will create a better work-life balance for the human being, and it is good for the countries where the population is diminishing. Means the rate of growth of population is less than 0.8% in many of the European countries, and there are countries which is going into a negative growth. So in those areas, this artificial intelligence will definitely help. The flip side is this will replace many of the jobs which are done today by the human being, especially in the third world countries. Now, one interesting thing I read few days back is one area this will impact heavily is on teaching. So there again, the good thing is many of the things which teachers does today will be done by the machines. But there are many things which teachers are not doing today. Teachers will find time to do that. Say, for example, the subject matter expertise will go to the machine, but the students today and tomorrow in future needs a lot of coaching and counseling. And teachers today, they don't find time for this. I don't blame them, but teachers will be able to find more time to be emotionally closer to the students. The machine can never be emotionally closer. So in a way, it is good. And let me take this opportunity to thank everybody who are participating, and also the people, the resources, or the experts who are facilitating this program. I appreciate our school principal, Manjari, Jayashree, and the whole team who are able to spend some time on this. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to be part of this. Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm not able to sit for the whole session because today is a working day for us. So thank you very much, Jayashree. Thank you very much, Manjari. Thank you very much, all the organizers. Thank you. Over to you, Jayashree.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the welcome. I would now just like to go through the rules of the presentation, which we are going to have the webinar. In the meanwhile, I would request if all of you could just switch off your videos and mute yourselves. Thank you. Are you able to see my screen? I request you all to keep your mic on mute during the session, unless we mention other ways. You may keep your webcam off. I request you all to switch off your webcam during the session for better connectivity reasons. And there will be a question and answer session at the end of the panel discussion. The question and answer session will be conducted at the end of the panel discussion. Kindly type your questions in the chat option to the moderator. These questions will be taken up later during the question answer session after all the participants have already spoken. It gives me great pleasure to invite the speaker for this session, Dr. Sriram Natarajan, who will be speaking on the challenges and opportunities of artificial intelligence in the coming decade. Dr. Sriram Natarajan is a professor from the Center for Machine Learning at the Department of Computer Science at the University of Texas, Dallas. His research interests lie in the field of artificial intelligence with emphasis on machine learning, statistical relational learning, and artificial intelligence, reinforcement learning, graphical models, and biomedical application. He has received the Young Investigator Award from US Army Research Office, Amazon Faculty Research Award, Intel Faculty Award, Xerox Faculty Award, Verix Faculty Award, and the IU Trustees Teaching Award from Indiana University. He is the program co-chair of SDM 2020 and ACM CODS COMAT 2020 conferences. He is a specialty chief editor of Frontiers in Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence Journal and an associate editor of MLJ, JAIR, and DAMI journals, and is the electronics publishing editor for JAIR. I request you all to please help me welcome the first facilitator for this session, Dr. Sriram Natarajan. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear
you,
you and you're visible.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thanks.
Hi. So yeah, I am Sriram. I'm from University of Texas, Dallas. It's a little after 1 o'clock. So if I'm a little jittery, I hope you understand. So I'm here to talk about artificial intelligence opportunities and challenges. It's hopefully not all gloom. Hopefully AI has many potential opportunities that could be leveraged in every aspect of life. And I'm hoping to convince you of that. So before I jump directly into the potential opportunities, I also want to just acknowledge my group here. This is my set of PhD students. We have currently 11 PhD students, 5 PhD students have graduated. We've given 18 master students over the last 8 to 9 years. And a huge thanks to all the funding agencies which help us fund our grad students. This is from last Christmas. This is how we were celebrating it before COVID. So a huge thanks to all my students for keeping our research going. So really AI and machine learning, opportunities are abundance. Okay, so anytime you log into anywhere, you see these buzzwords, machine learning and AI. I just today morning or yesterday morning, when I was watching the England versus Pakistan cricket match, one of the ads that came up was an AI powered Colgate toothbrush. Okay, so that's when I realized that, okay, you know what, I've seen everything. So the opportunities in AI and machine learning is, as I keep saying, is abundant, right? So you can categorize the opportunities into multiple buckets. The first bucket, the so-called data scientist bucket, is the set of people who really apply existing machine learning algorithms to build models that are specific to the project that you're looking at, the client that you're working with, or the company you're working for. So that's the definition of a data scientist. Then there are these other set of data engineers whose main goal is to really build data pipelines. And the idea there is the pipelines are used to clean and integrate into existing databases. So it's not like they're developing new algorithms or even implementing new algorithms, but they're facilitating the use of new algorithms. And of course, the third coveted really machine learning job is that of a research scientist. Typically with a PhD, you get new machine learning models to accomplish research goals for a particular company. So most of my students who get their PhD end up as research scientist or a data scientist in many of these firms. But there are many other related positions, user interface engineers, big data engineers. Big data used to be big about 6-7 years back, and now it's moved to data science. And I think it's going to keep metamorphosing into newer concepts. But essentially, just working with large amounts and large volumes of data. Machine learning engineers. Of course, teaching now has become really an important aspect, not in the way the classical teaching works, but more like online courses like Udemy, Coursera, just building courses and presenting it to the MOOC format. So that's the way I think the big opportunities of AI and machine learning are existing currently across the spectrum of research problems and tasks. So just deep diving a little bit into these opportunities, right? So the one big avenue right now is the notion of autonomous vehicles, right? And this is there everywhere. You can see them everywhere, all the way from personal assistants to drones to automated cars to what you see here is the delivery robot that exists in our university at University of Texas at Dallas. So you're seeing the advent of machine learning and AI in automated autonomous vehicles really everywhere. And you have people like Elon Musk and others who are pushing this forward. And so do these really fully replace jobs? I hope not, because in the way I see it is, like it was said in the welcome address, the hope is that we augment and make people better, more efficient. Okay, so the hope is that these autonomous vehicles will make jobs much more efficient. How awesome would it be if we are all down to a four-day working week and a 3-day weekend, right? So that's what we are hoping to achieve at some point. Okay. Moving on, healthcare, and this is actually something that's close to my heart because we've been working a lot with healthcare applications, broadly called as biomedicine. So for us, at least the main goal for me is to build intelligent assistants that can help physicians diagnose and prescribe better. So I give this example all the time. About 6-7 years back, I went to see a physician about an emergency for my knee, and the physician asked me a bunch of questions. I answered them. I was answering with my phone on, and at the end he said, "Have you told me everything?" Okay, and that's when my wife gave me a nice back on my back, and I looked at her and said, "What's up?" And she said, "You have diabetes, and you didn't tell him." And this was an emergency visit, so it's not an integrated electronic health record. And the only way for him to know was me telling him, right? So it's not that I had to. I don't want to say that I have diabetes because I'm telling you guys. I might as well told him, right? So it's just that it's of my mind that I had to tell him, right? And that was a very important information that he needed to know because he was going to prescribe me a steroid, which would have elevated my blood sugar. So the point I'm trying to make is that the presence of a machine learning system or an AI system there could have alerted the physician and say, "Hey, do you know that he has diabetes and you're prescribing this steroid? It's quite possible that his blood sugar could go up, and he could say something. He could have multiple options. He could say, A, yes, I know that he already has diabetes, but he's in acute pain. I want to bring the pain down. We'll manage diabetes later. Or B, thank you. He didn't tell me this, but you told me this, right? So there could be multiple ways in which this can work. And this is one space in which the number of companies is exploding. Okay, as a professor and a director for Center for Machine Learning, I get so many emails and so many calls from healthcare companies and startups that are coming up. Literally, I think Moore's law is so totally true of AI startups. If there were 10,000 startups last year, there are 20,000 this year, 40,000 next year, and so on and so forth. It's exponentially increasing. And the space in which they are really growing is healthcare, because that's where I think the maximum amount of promise is going to be. Okay, particularly in times like COVID, you can actually see that if we had good machine learning and AI systems inside all these electronic health records, and all the way from admission to surgery, if we had help to the overworked surgeons, overworked physicians, it would be really good. So that's where the hope is, right? Healthcare, and this is where I think there is a lot of work going on. Business, of course, almost every company is adopting AI, right? I get, again, calls from, because I live in Dallas, I get calls from every bank asking my opinion on this. And it's unbelievable how much it is really embraced by the banking sector, right? So it's, again, and it's not just AI and machine learning in its purest form, right? It's the combination of AI and machine learning with other areas, such as computer security. That's one of the most important aspects of IT. I think that requires AI and machine learning. Sales and marketing, finance and accounting, and customer service. There are these different aspects of a business where AI and machine learning have seamlessly found their use inside there, right? So building predictive models that predicts price forecasting, for instance, is something that's really at the top of the requirement from any finance sector, any banking sector, actually any business sector for that case, right? So anybody I talk to, any companies that we work with, the first thing that they want to do is predict the prices. So there's a lot of opportunities in businesses, and as I said, startups are exploding. And this is probably a few years back. I think last year was when we took this, and already we have more explosion of startups, right? Just today, I even spoke with the CEO of a new startup who wants to work in AI and machine learning. So there's a lot of startups, and many of them are getting acquired by bigger companies, and many of them are charting their own courses. But there's a lot of promises and a lot of excitement, and I think it's here to stay for at least a while, because we are starting to deliver on the promises of AI. And again, the impact is widespread, right? I understand the fear of jobs being taken over, but there is so many other potential opportunities for AI and machine learning. Smart grid is one thing that I always wanted to highlight as something that has potential from AI, where we can basically increase even small things like the building performance, right? We can save the cost. We can do comfort. We can increase the comfort optimization. We can increase the energy efficiency, carbon dioxide reduction. We can help in climate change in a positive way, right? The search and rescue is an important aspect as well. And of course, last one is as I keep saying all the time, imaging, right? At this point has been extremely one of the biggest success stories of AI and machine learning, right? Imaging has been the one area where AI and machine learning has grown brilliantly. And I think that's where the promise has started. And it goes all the way, in my opinion, to a doctor's office. So this widespread impact and potential of impact on AI and machine learning. So many of us are hugely excited. I'm so excited that I'm talking at 1:25 in the night about the opportunities of AI and machine learning. So that should tell you how exciting the next decade is going to be. Finally, I don't have to speak. The great Bill Gates was once asked for career advice, and he says he would consider 3 fields, the first of which is AI. And he says, We have only begun to tap into all ways that it will make people's life most productive and creative, right? So I think AI is here, and AI is here to stay. And I'm really very happy that many schools, for instance, in the US, in India, now in Doha, that I'm saying in Qatar, it's unbelievable that we are all embracing AI and machine learning, and we should be starting to teach these AI ideas back from around 8th to 9th grade. That would be fantastic, because that's one of our mission, is to go to these K8 through 12 schools and reach out to them and see how we can help with these curriculums. So AI is here to stay. I'm not saying it. The great Bill Gates is, I'm a huge fan of that guy, is saying that. So with that, I'm going to step back a little bit because I've talked about the potential opportunities. I'm really excited. But this AI is this buzzword that people throw out all the time without understanding what it means, really. When I talk to people, it's kind of like one of those, it's gone from being discussed inside a auditorium of AI conference to just in bars, right? And even in bars, I'm overhearing people talk about AI all the time. But do we really understand AI? Because AI is much more deeper, right? So you can think of systems that think like humans, or systems that act like humans, versus systems that think rationally and act rationally. So thinking humans is what is called as cognitive science. And cognitive science is more interested in this notion of what is an appropriate level of abstraction for thinking about this, right? And I have a 4-year-old, and he's the one who really makes me think harder and harder about AI, because anytime I say something, I understand that my level of a particular answer is completely different from his level of understanding. And that difference in understanding between what I'm saying and what he's understanding, right? And that gap is what you call as the abstraction difference, right? The most important problem is, if we say we think like human, how to validate? Because the problem with humans is we are all approximate, okay? We all have our own rules that we act by. So how do you validate the performance of a human? So think of a self-driving car. I just program it and I drive it. If it drives like a human, none of us will want to get inside it, right? So, but that's what cognitive science do. It tries to figure out how humans act. Acting humanly is what you call as Turing test. So many of you have heard this. A Turing test is simply you have a computer on one side, a human on the other, behind closed rooms. You ask questions, and if you cannot distinguish between the machine and the human, then the machine has won the human test, the Turing test. I have a slightly different one. I say a Turing test, a machine passes a Turing test if it figures out how to cross a road in India, specifically Bombay or Madras, without getting yelled at. Okay, that is when a machine has passed a Turing test. Because when I go to India, my cousins and nephews who are about 20 years younger than me, they hold my hand quickly and cross the road. Okay, I've lived my first 20 years of my life in India, but when I go back, I find it very hard to cross the road. But they can do it, right? So that's the example of what a Turing test is. But again, it's not mathematically sound. Okay, I'm a human, but I cannot act like one in India when crossing the road. So that's not a reproducible or amenable to mathematical analysis. Thinking rationally is what you want a system to do. But do you really? That's the other question. Because if you always think rationally, and there was this beautiful scene from this movie by Rajinikanth, in Tamil it's called Indiran, in Hindi it's called Robot, where this robot goes and rescues a woman from a bathtub in a fire, and she is completely naked. Okay, it's a very subtle point, but an important point. This is a machine that is thinking rationally and figuring out that saving the life is important. But we as a human have other preferences, right? So for the first thing we do is we get her a cloth, and then we bring her out. So the question is, how do you, the point is that not all intelligent behavior is just by logical deliberation. We call that stupid. We don't call it intelligent, right? Of course, acting rationally is another one. You ask my dad, how long do you have to be at the airport? He would say about 4 hours before the flight takes off. This is pre-COVID time, okay? Pre-COVID time, my dad would be at the airport 4 hours before. I would be at the airport 2 hours before. My roommate would be at the airport at 1 hour before. Who is rational? Really my dad, because he has never missed a flight, a train, or a bus in his entire life. But do we think it's rational? Again, debatable, right? So there's a lot of these questions, particularly on what makes AI truly AI, okay? I'm not going into the detail, but I just wanted to show the opportunities that are out there. So what can AI do? Play chess, play a lot of sports, right? Play chess. It can play RoboCup soccer. It's actually beautiful. If you really are interested in AI, you should see the evolution of RoboCup soccer. In 2005, when RoboCup soccer started really at full-fledged in 2005, in the first RoboCup competition in which my school, when I was doing my PhD, was involved, the system would kick the ball and everybody, if all the other robots would just stay where they are. Okay, but now 15 years later, they can dribble, they can pass, they can even outscore, probably not Messi, but they can outscore most of the real professional footballers. They can play a decent game of table tennis. And actually, I just saw a video of badminton as well. They can clean a room, automatically buy items for you, make you buy items. That's a different point. Web recommendations. We can automatically, again, drive through a desert, drive in Northern California. What cannot be done? Much more finesse, right? Cricket, for instance, is going to be difficult, at least at this point. With robotics, needs to scale up a little bit more. We are starting to write poems, but not at the level of, say, Kelly. Shelley. Kelly is the system that we're building. Shelley or Shakespeare, right? So we can't do that yet. They can't play tennis yet. They can't clean a room fully with obstacles, children, and pets. It cannot yet buy items from a grocery store, autonomously drive in Boston or Bombay, cross a busy road in India. It cannot yet diagnose and cure patients, but we are slowly getting closer and closer to helping our physicians do that. So there is a lot of challenges. There's a lot of open opportunities. Data is there in multiple scales. It's in different formats. It appears in different frequencies. It's extremely noisy. And our knowledge itself changes. Corona is a classic example. During COVID times, what we thought we knew in January is different from what we knew in July and August. Okay, so our acquired knowledge changes. When our domain expertise changes, how do you expect the AI system to keep in touch with it when both the data and the domain expertise is a little bit noisy? The more challenging problems are, we don't really know the side effect of some of the actions, right? It's kind of like the chaos theory. I make some change here, something else could happen, 10 years later. How do we account for that? How do we make sure that we are still optimal in the way we are doing things? And of course, we are always making decisions partially, with the partial observability of everything. I have no feedback, for instance, from many of you, and I'm kind of basing my talk and I'm continuing doing this. So when we are good at that, how can we make the system do this? As I mentioned briefly, the long-term effects of decision-making is still not known. But the biggest impediment and challenge of AI is not any of this. It's really the humans, okay? We are completely approximate, okay? We act completely unpredictable. Most importantly, we make up stuff. But we want the machine to be exact, to be predictable, to be precise. So that's kind of like the huge chasm between what we are and what we want the machine to be. So think of it like this. How many accidents do people do or make in the last year? How many traffic accidents have people caused? Probably in millions. But if a self-driving car makes one accident, it's news, right? And in the interest of time, I'm not going into detail, but about 3 years back, in one of the college towns in USA, one of the self-driving cars was stuck at a stop sign. And we were all deliberating, why did this happen? Turns out the answer was very simple. The stop sign means you have to stop the car. It stopped the car. But the other cars are driven by students. They don't stop. They just roll at stop signs. It's waiting for the other cars to stop. So it's not really the machine's mistake, but it is its understanding of the human. That is where things are not yet right. So understanding the human model is crucial. We are far away from it. It's completely open. And that's where the opportunities are there in the next 10 years. All the companies that I talked about work on some aspects of these problems that I'm just mentioning. Okay. So in my head, at least, there are 3 steps for AI. First is you need efficient machine learning, which learns mainly from the data. You should be able to scale it up. It's efficient and effective. Should be able to explain, to gain trust. Okay, and being fair, you need to learn and gain trust. The next is getting human knowledge into this. So we get richer inputs from the human, where the human is not just saying, that's true, that's false, that's true, that's false. You call that as labels. And we don't want the human to be just a mere labeler. We want the domain expertise to come into the system. If assume that let's say I'm building a system to assist somebody in surgery, we need the domain experts, the surgeons, to give us inputs to make the system better. And lastly, the goal of AI right now is to close the loop, to kind of build a system that knows what it knows and solicits information about what it does not know. So in some sense, mirror an excellent student-teacher interaction, where the student is really the AI agent and the teacher is the human. And the AI agent should be able to ask intelligent questions to the human. Hope is when we do this enough, the AI will discover new things and teach the human back. Okay, so that's our hope, and that's what we are working towards, and that's what many of the scientists in AI and machine learning are working towards. So with that, I just want to end by saying that there's miles to go before we sleep. The first one is we have to first make humans trust us, right? Every now and then when Elon Musk comes out and says AI is the biggest danger to the society, all of us are like, oh man, we have to restart the trust process again. So we have to explain trust. We have to solicit feedback that makes sure that the human is always involved. If the human is left out, the machine doesn't have feelings, the human has feelings, all the way from ego to the feeling of left out, right? So it's there, and we need to make sure that we massage the human, the ego as well. But more importantly, we need to enable fairness. Okay, we should avoid bias in learning. So if you ask, for instance, a machine on credit card, it has the bias all the way about race, age, and gender, and many other aspects. How can we remove the social, economic, and religious bias that exists in the human world from entering the machine world? And that's the most important thing. Handling ethical issues. Okay, white lies to make us eat healthy is okay, but if two machines are negotiating for profit, it really isn't. How do you make sure that we handle these ethical issues? And data versus knowledge. What if the evidence is contrary to the human perception? Currently, that's what's happening in politics everywhere in the world. If you don't agree with your opponent, you shut it down, right? But the machine cannot do that. The machine has to improve. But again, it has to figure out what to trust and what not to trust. And as always, the biggest question is, do you want it to be rational or do you want it to be a human? And that's where the gap is crucial in many fields. So there's a lot of problems out there that are open. If any of you who are high school students or parents of high school students listening, there is a lot of career opportunities in AI and machine learning around these problems that I just mentioned. So it's completely open, and many problems are there to solve for the next, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 years, even before AI can really be powerful and change human lives. So with that, I'm ending with this very nice serenity prayer due to my friend, Professor Rao Kamampati from Arizona State. It says that it's kind of like an AI telling the human, grant me the serenity to accept things that I cannot learn, data to learn things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay. With that, tweet your questions. I'm available at Sriram_UTD. If you have specific questions on opportunities and challenges, or even career paths, feel free to email me. Give me a few hours to reply, but I will reply. You can find my email online, Sriram Natarajan, sriram.natarajan@utdallas.edu. You can search me on Google, and you can email me if you need to. Okay, with that, I am done. I can take a few questions before I hit the bell. I'm done, Ms. Jayashree.
Thank you, Dr. Sriram Natarajan, for that informational and engrossing session. I have asked the participants to post their queries to me. I will mail it to you, or since you have given your Twitter handle as well as the email ID, I'm sure they will mail it to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and joining us for this meeting. With this, I would now like to acknowledge the presence of the principal of Noble International School, as well as the vice principals of Olive and Shantiniketan Indian School. Our next speaker for the session will be Ms. Joy Mary Nainan.
Ma'am, can I share?
Just give me 1 minute, Joy, ma'am. Ms. Joy Mary Nainan is an engineer by profession and has been with Pearl School for over 6 years. She will be presenting her session on artificial intelligence in the field of education. I request you all to welcome Ms. Joy Mary Nainan, who will be presenting artificial intelligence in the field of education. Over to you, Ms. Joy.
Thank you so much, Jayashree ma'am. It is indeed a privilege for me to be able to share some inputs and some views about this particular topic of AI in education. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, Joy ma'am, you are audible. Maybe you can be a bit more louder, but you are audible. Thank you.
Okay. We have all studied about the first industrial revolution when we were small. It was all about harnessing the steam power. Then we came across the transformation that electricity brought about in our lives. And much later, we have seen and been there when electronics, computers, and IT started making change in our lives. But today, right now, we are in the midst of a revolution, the fourth industrial revolution. Did you even realize that we have been hearing a catchphrase from the movies, AI or artificial intelligence, we call it. This industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, is one that will use a variety of internet technologies like the Internet of Things, big data, AI, mobiles, and cloud. This will bring
Joy ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
They are unable to hear you. I'm getting messages that you're not audible. Can you please?
Am I audible now?
Yes. This is very clear. I request you to please start on from the beginning because
Sure,
you were not. Thank you so much.
Sorry for that. We are in the middle of an industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution. And did you even realize that we are witnessing it right now? We have learned about the first industrial revolution when we were children, and the second. We were part of the third. But today, we are witnessing the fourth industrial revolution, and that is AI. AI is the industrial revolution that brings about many different internet technologies together. The Internet of Things, big data, AI, mobiles, and cloud, all working together. But this revolution is not a revolution of man versus the machine. Rather, let me tell you, it is about man and machine against the problem. AI began not recently. Its thoughts and it existed right from the late 1940s. However, it was in the 1950s, 1956 to be exact, when the term AI was coined at a convention. What is AI? Dr. Sriram has already taken us through many aspects of AI and what it is. But simply put, AI is the ability of a machine to think, to learn, and to make decisions like humans. And AI's effects are felt all around us, even if we don't realize it. Let me tell you some. The travel assistants who chat with you so amicably, giving you suggestions of where, what, and how your travel plan should be. Alexa, Siri, assistants of Amazon and Apple. Grammarly, who helps you, gives you suggestions on writing your emails better. The application that turns on your light bulb. All these are glimpses of AI around us. AI boomed from the 90s and in the 2000s. Do you want to know why? Because of the change that technology brought about. Faster computers and breakthroughs in machine learning, especially deep learning, made this possible for AI to be felt around us. Have you even heard of Education 4.0? I'm sure you would have guessed. Education 4.0 is a natural response to It's a natural response to the Industrial Revolution. We were part of Education 2.0, where we had large classrooms, teacher transmitting information and knowledge to us. The 3 R's were a main constraint for us to learn and develop. But Education 3.0 was when we have started using computers as a tool for facilitating our learning, our education. Education 4.0, we are at the threshold of this phase. In fact, it's happening in many countries. But why Education 4.0? You and I may ask. Can I tell you that modern research shows that education has to evolve? It has to make changes. Do you know why? So that the children of today, our students, can earn and have an economically, financially viable future. And for that, education has to transform itself. Education has to make changes. What are the changes that education should bring about? It has to become more realistic, more personalized. It has to ensure that students are the owners in their learning. Here, learning is not limited rote-wise, that is by hearting. Rather, creative, critical thinking is the key here. Emphasis is on developing the collaborative skills of the student, the emotional intelligence of the student, the ability of a child to be able to study anywhere, at any time, using any device. And that is Education 4.0. Did you know around 60% of all occupations can have around 1/3 of their activities automated? And for that, we have to ensure our children are able and also have a safe future ahead. This is also possible when we start using many applications. Applications like learning management systems, school management software, online education application tools. All these will help in ensuring Education 4.0 is definitely there. Having said that, in India, did you know that the value of education industry is billed at 100 billion USD? But unfortunately, our online education tools have been able to make only a small blip on this number. By incorporating AI in education technology tools, definitely we can ensure that we are able to tap the benefits of AI in our country, in education. According to a recent study published by the eSchool News, in 2021, the application of AI in education and learning will be increased to around 47.5%. What are the advantages or what are some of the features of AI in education? Let us see the first one, personalized learning experience. We all know as educators that every child is precious. Every child is unique, and each of us learn in a different way. Despite using differentiated learning techniques as a teacher, let me tell you, it's not necessary that we are able to target all the 100% of the students sitting in our classroom. Maybe 60%, maybe 50%, maybe even 75%, but not necessary that the full 100% is targeted. This is where AI can enter our classrooms and make a change for the better. It can help in understanding based on the student using the application tool. It can help in understanding what the learning style of that child is. Supposing you are a student who prefers to learn by listening, you will be given audio clips to help you understand concepts better. If you are a visual learner, for you, it is nothing but an animation video. And if you're someone who really enjoys to read, then you will be shared a text of the same learning material. So you are targeted as a student based on your learning style. Hasn't AI made it easier for us? Also, when we are using an application, what AI does is it understands what is the learning gap of the child. How much has this child been able to understand? What are the different contents that the child is finding difficulty? If you are a quick learner, you know what AI will do for us for a particular subject? It will share very advanced kind of concepts that is easier for us to grasp. It will quiz us accordingly. But if I'm a normal learner, you know what will happen? It will be giving us basic concepts, ensuring our basics are clear. Test us on that and then go to higher level and application based. Intelligent tutoring systems. We all used to go for tuitions. It used to give us that one-on-one benefit, isn't it? That's exactly what an intelligent tutoring system does. It gives one-on-one personalized feedback to a child who is using that application. So if the child is showing some shortfalls, some gap in what he or she is learning, then the application will give corresponding feedback. When it gives that feedback, the child is able to work and give that kind of response. As a result, the concepts get very clearly ingrained in the mind of the student, the learner. Intelligent tutoring systems are used, you know where? In different fields, like for people who are driving aircrafts, military aircrafts. They are given a training session using Sherlock, an intelligent tutoring system in the US, which will help them to understand what are the defects in some of the electrical systems and how to rectify it. Some universities like Carnegie's uses Mika software, which will help the child to understand a concept better by giving them one-on-one instruction. And this is where AI can help us. Administrative tasks and grading. Did you know that according to studies, we teachers spend more than 50% of our time on what? On mundane administrative tasks and corrections. We are not able to tap our potential and put our whole and soul into facilitating that teaching experience. And so what happens is we are bogged down with so many papers, so many online material to correct, so many projects. AI can help us. One such tool is GradeScope. GradeScope was created by 4 students in a university, and it is used by many universities now. What happens with GradeScope is it is able to make corrections on assignments, on quizzes, not just multiple choice like how we have witnessed now during COVID times. Even long answer questions and essay type questions are and can be corrected by GradeScope depending on what we enter in the database. Administrative tasks. Yes, that too can be eased very much, especially during admission times. You can see so many piles of files. AI can simplify the paper processing work and make it easy for the school administration. And finally, one critical aspect of AI in education is exceptional query resolution. I already talked about assistance in travel agencies, isn't it? Online travel agencies. Exceptional query resolution is nothing but doubt clearance. During COVID times, as teachers, have you felt at any point of time that you had so many doubts coming to you online that sometimes you missed answering it? Sometimes you saw it after a few days. You were unable to give prompt answers to the student. Then this is where query resolution can help us. What AI does is it is placed as a chatbot. It uses natural language processing, machine learning, and artificial intelligence techniques, and goes through an entire database of already existing questions with its answers. What exceptional query resolution does is, if I as a student or as a parent ask a query, what happens is this gets immediately sorted, selected, searched to that database. The best fit answer is then shared with the student. But supposing none of the keywords in my search query as a student match with what is there in the database, what will happen? Then my query will get routed to a human expert. And that human expert will answer my query in real time. So this is a wonderful example of where man and machine work together to solve the problem, the doubts. Research shows that doubts that are clarified then and there makes a lot of difference in the lives of a student. It becomes easier to grasp concepts. Having said that, let us meet Miss Jill Watson, Georgia Tech's teaching assistant. For more than a year, she had answered more than 100,000 queries, promptly, never missing a single post. And she had also ensured that she gave helpful suggestions or answers to every query posted. She even received a date request. It was more than a year later that students came to know that Miss Jill Watson is not a teaching assistant human, rather an AI program that was created by Professor Ashok Goel and his graduate students at Georgia Tech University. And this is how AI can help us in solving in solving our doubts then and there, and so lighten the load of us as a teacher. The role of AI is not to eliminate the role of us educators or teachers, rather to enhance our skills as a teacher. From teaching, we become a facilitator. Our role is modified to that of a facilitator. And I'm sure we are all very familiar with this term, having attended many training programs in the last few months. Not only a facilitator, did you know we'll become mentors for our children, for our students? In fact, we will only show them the path, guide them, provide that human interaction, and help them, provide that inspiration, the problems. But it is up to the children to understand how, when, and how they want to learn the concepts. It is a personalized learning experience that Education 4.0 is targeting at, so that our students are ready when they face their tomorrow. What are some of the hurdles to AI in education? One of them is the cost of adopting AI enabled solutions. Not all higher level education institutions are that much in sync with AI, employing AI in their educational institutions. The cost of adopting it. The cost involves ensuring that they employ the right kind of personnel to ensure that this is incorporated in their educational institution. Not only for the higher levels, it is now understood and even suggested that AI should be incorporated right from a primary level. And for this, a lot of thinking has to be put in by the schools, by educational institutions to understand how to adopt AI in their institution. The next thing is the continuous learning curve. Why continuous learning curve? Because not all of us faculty are data literate or tech savvy. We have to be trained and we have to understand what are the things that we need to do to ensure AI is incorporated in our education. The last hurdle is nothing but lack of data-driven decision making. Schools, educational institutions are the best source of data. We have data in different forms, in the form of question papers, in the form of answer scripts, in the form of data of students. But unfortunately, not all of us are data literate or data savvy to ensure this data is used in the best possible way. That we have data, but are we using it right? Are we using it in such a way that our teaching style is modified for a particular class? Supposing a concept is not clear, are we using the data that we have with us to ensure that a concept is retaught? Are we adopting a different style of approaching a particular topic? There is data, but how efficiently are we using that data to ensure Education 4.0 is effective. These are some of the hurdles that we face. Before I conclude, let me just leave you all with a quote by William Butler Yeats, an Irish poet who once said, "Education is not about filling a bucket, but lighting the fire." Are we ready to light the fire of Education 4.0? Are we ready to ensure that we prepare the children of today as the citizens of an economically safe, viable tomorrow? Are you there? Are we all ready for this? Over to you, Jayashree ma'am, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. I, for one, am sure ready to take up this artificial intelligence because, as you have very clearly explained, it enriches the student as well as the teacher, the experience, how we can teach and how it can enable the children better. As also, how you mentioned, we do need to look in to how we use the data properly. That is another point which you have touched upon well. Thank you, Ms. Joy, for the session. I would now like to invite our next speaker for this session, Ms. Rati. Ms. Rati is a postgraduate in information technology, and she has worked as a technical executive in the bank domain before shifting to the educational domain. She has been with Pearl School for the past 7 years, and she is the academic coordinator for the primary section. With this, I would like to invite Ms. Rati to deliver her session on artificial intelligence for secondary schools. Ms. Rati, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. It is indeed a privilege for me to share my experience with you all connected today. We all listen to the challenges and the opportunities in the field of AI for the next decade explained by our respectful guest speaker, Dr. Sriram, and also the real-time applications, that too in our education sector, by my fellow mate, Ms. Joy Mary Nainan. It is with pride I say that India is the first country to introduce artificial intelligence in the school curriculum. Artificial intelligence is the term which has been heard more frequently these years. Why this shift happened towards AI? For the reason that artificial intelligence has a bright and promising future in India. In 2018, Niti Aayog, NITI, National Institution for Transforming India, a think tank for the government of India, created a national approach to artificial intelligence in India. It suggested that through sufficient implementation of AI techniques, AI, it is anticipated to assist the nation to develop economically while contributing to the public growth to a great extent. Reports predict that by 2035, AI has the potential to add over $957 billion to India's economy. But India still has a long way to go to be fully prepared to seize the enormous opportunities that AI presents. In terms of technology, we are having 5 generations. The generation which our students are in is Generation Z. To make them globally ready to meet the challenges, to make use of the opportunities that artificial providing with, CBSE has introduced artificial intelligence in the school curriculum. Now, Let us relax for 2 minutes. It's a game time. Participants, you will be seeing this link in the chat. Just copy and paste this link in your web browser. Just play and observe. We will discuss it further. I request moderator Jayashree ma'am to time for 2 minutes. Jayashree ma'am, is it okay with you?
Yes, ma'am. Just give me a minute.
It is all just a game that we have played in our childhood. Nothing but rock, paper, scissors. But there is one feature interesting in that. I hope you are able to open the link. You can make few moves and see what is happening. Jayashree ma'am, please let me know when 2 minutes is over.
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. The link I have not posted it. Just give me a. I'll just post the link.
You can just type rock, paper, scissors in your browser. I hope you all would have made some 10 moves. Yes, with that understanding, you all would have guessed to whom you played with. Who was your opponent? It is an artificial intelligence enabled machine. And in most of the cases, the machine would have won. How? It collected numerous data from you and maintained the data sets. What type of data? It got the patterns and trends you followed in your each move. And it got the meaning out of it. It analyzed. Then it gave its move. So this is one of the important domains of artificial intelligence, data science. This is the way to introduce the concept. This way we can make it, use it of. And the real-time applications of data science, you can see website recommendations that Amazon and Netflix gives us, and weather forecasting, and it goes on. What are the objectives of this CBSE artificial intelligence curriculum? The subject code, you can search it for 417. This curriculum focuses on helping the learners to understand the world of artificial intelligence through games, through many hands-on activities, individual activities, group activities. And like how we played one game, we can introduce the 3 domains of AI. The next 2 domains we are going to see in the later stage. And allowing the learners to construct the meaning of artificial intelligence through many interactive participation activities like debate, group discussion, research. And also, it introduces the learners, the AI project cycle. AI project cycle is nothing but the steps to be followed in designing, developing an artificial intelligence model. Of course, to develop a model, we need algorithm. So the students are provided with the basic programming skills in Python coding language. What are the skills to be developed with this AI concepts? Both they acquire technical skills and life skills. Technical skills of that, they will know what is AI, what are the domains in the field of AI, and what I need to do if I want to develop an AI project, how I evaluate the efficiency of my AI model, what is neural networks, what are its applications, everything. And for that, programming skills through Python, life skills, cognitive skills like decision making, problem solving, critical and creative thinking, and also collaborative skills through some activities, participation. So these life skills we can encourage through the technical skills. This is the aim of AI readiness concepts. Our endeavor. We proudly announce that Pearl School has opted for artificial intelligence as the skill subject for grade 9 from 2019 onwards. For that, a 3-day training of artificial intelligence was conducted by CBSE in collaboration with Intel at Cochin. The training was attended not only by the teachers from various parts of India and also from Middle East. And this year, again, a 6 days online capacity building program was conducted for the teachers, but mainly focused on class 10 AI curriculum by CBSE Intel team. These are some of the photos of activities conducted in capacity building program at Cochin. How to know about this capacity building programs? We all teachers familiar with the CBSE website, cbseacademic.nic.in. There, a page is dedicated for artificial intelligence, if you could see in the screen sharing. And inside that, they'll be always updating what are the trainings, what are the programs scheduled for the teachers. You can go it and fill it in the form and you will be getting the invitation link. And I would like to share that now recently on August 6th, they have given a notification. This is the recent circular from CBSE. They have scheduled for the schools, those who are going to introduce artificial intelligence as their skill subject from session 2020 to 21. And they are requesting the schools to send their teachers for this online webinars. And see the 4 batches of teachers they have segregated. Here you have to, the link has been given for the registration and you can register through this link, and the invitation link for the respective webinar shall be emailed to the selected teachers on the email ID that you are providing with the time of registration in the Google form. This you can see in the CBSE website. It is uploaded recently. Again, one more game time. I'm requesting again the participants, please type quick draw in your web browser and just observe it. The time again will be 2 minutes.
I have posted the link in the chat, Ms. Rati. So I will.
Thank you. Thank you, Jayshree ma'am. Participants, it will be easy for you to copy and paste the link given in the chat section. Ma'am, can I request you to time for 2 minutes?
Yes, yes, I'm doing that also.
This game is quite interesting. It is a challenge for you to expose your drawing skills. I hope you are all enjoying it, the game. We all became children today. Jayashree ma'am, may I know the 2 minutes time is over?
Only 1 minute is over, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I hope you Lord have finished some 5 drawings.
We have another 10 seconds, ma'am, after which time is up. You can continue. You can continue, ma'am.
Yes.
2 minutes. Yeah.
So here I have spoken about 3 domains. One is data science. Here we are introducing the second domain, computer vision. Computer vision is the ability of a machine to get and read the visual information, that is pictures, images, and analyze it and make decisions accordingly. So this computer vision techniques, where we are using it? You are using in your face lock in your smartphones. And nowadays you can see the virtual, that too in COVID times. Shopping is continuing through virtual try-on features. We can try our dresses, our lens. The site Lenskart is providing for the virtual try-on. And mainly it is used for security reasons to match the face in a criminal database. So you can find so many applications with this computer vision. And third domain is natural language processing, shortly termed as NLP. My fellow mate, Miss Joy Mary Ninen, have explained about the virtual assistants, Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, and one more. We are all are attending meeting in Zoom. You know the virtual assistant of Zoom? It is named as Bolt. So it is the Bolt is every time 24 hours ready to answer your doubts in Zoom settings. And this natural language processing is merely the interaction between the human and the computer. Here the input is our speech and the text, which the machine will understand and give it responses accordingly. So through this, we can explain the students how a machine is becoming artificially intelligent. When a machine is possessing or acquiring the cognitive skills like thinking, learning, perceiving, problem solving, and decision making, a machine is becoming artificially intelligent. What are the learning outcomes in class 9? What are the main chapters covered in class 9? Is, as I explained already, AI domains, the basic idea of AI domains like data science, computer vision, and natural language processing. Next, the important topic they are insisting on, this artificial intelligence ethics. What are the ethical concerns revolving around the concept of AI? Whether AI will create unemployment, how we can overcome that? What is the morality issues in developing AI models? How it affects, how it developers moral issues, how it will affect the AI models. What is the bias? What is the data privacy? Everything it is getting discussed under the topic AI ethics to create awareness among the students. AI towards sustainable development goals is appreciable. This topic will help the learners to get an idea how to use AI projects for the benefit of the society. For a small note, sustainable development goals are the urgent call of action to the United Nations member states in 2015 to achieve peace and prosperity both in developing and developed countries. There are some 17 goals they have listed, like zero hunger, no poverty, clean water and sanitation, and it goes on. So how the artificial intelligence technology, how the automated task can help in attaining these goals? It is an awareness to the students to use AI for the constructive purpose. And research, they are introducing the research. The research is done by the students themselves to know about what are the current job opportunities, what are the job opportunities to be in the future, what are the soft skills and hard skills they have to develop in themselves. An AI project cycle, as I told you, what are the steps to be followed in detail to develop an AI project, and neural networks, how a neural network is working, where it is applied with, what are the features, how it is working. Everything is explained through activities. And of course, Python programming skills. Having said that, what is the learning outcomes in class 10? They have explained basically the three domains: data science, computer vision, and natural language processing. Here, they're explaining in detail. The students will have a deep understanding of these concepts. What is AI? What is not AI? How to distinguish between these two? Again, they're emphasizing on AI project cycle in each of these domains. How to evaluate? They're giving a formula. How to evaluate a machine to check the efficiency and performance. For all these, hands-on practices in each of the domain, it covered under advanced Python programming skills. Here for data science, what is the algorithm need to be followed? For computer vision, what is the algorithm need to be followed? They are covering up under advanced Python programming skills. What is the pedagogy? Here, AI concepts are explained to the students all through hands-on activities. Either it is a group activity or individual activity, or through AI games, which we played now, and many experiments are there. So they are insisting on, and the AI curriculum is providing an experiential learning to the students. Through every activities, what they are doing, they are getting this explanation or the understanding of the concepts. They are acquiring the skills. Employability skills. From this academic year, CBSE has introduced employability skills for developing employability and vocational competencies of students of class 9 and 10 opting for skill subject, along with other education subjects also. It is becoming the part of the skill subject artificial intelligence. In Pearl School, communication skills, because an employability skills is divided into these 5 parts. Communication skills is taken by English teacher, ICT skills, of course, by computer teacher, entrepreneurial skills by quality coordinator, green skills by geography teacher, and self-management skill by school counselor. These are some of the activities done by the students. The Pixelate activity is an activity the students are doing to understand how the computer reads the images in terms of pixels. We have seen computer vision. The input for the computer vision machine will be the visual information, images, pictures, videos. So how they are getting an understanding through this activity, how it is read, how the images are read by the machine through in terms of pixels. And the down you are seeing is human neural network. Before explaining what is neural network, they are forming a human neural network, and with that, practically, they are understanding what is happening in each layer, how a neural network is divided into many layers, and what is the process done in each layer. They are getting to do an activity. Through that, the concept is explained so clearly. Now, what are the requirements? When we are telling artificial intelligence, do your lab need to be really upgraded? No, we all have computers. Definitely, I believe we all having internet. Only we need headphones for certain activities. Headphones a school can provide, or no problem. The students, you can tell the students to bring the headphones from home during that activity. Software requirements for class 9 Python. For class 10, they insist on downloading Jupyter Notebook and packages such as NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and OpenCV. This NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib is useful for doing the hands-on activities for data science, and for activities of computer vision, OpenCV is used. Now again, one game time. This is like a quiz. So I request participants to play this quiz in your mobile, not through the system you are attending. Because the screen, what I'm projecting, you will be seeing the questions, but you have to answer in your mobile.
Rati ma'am, I have posted the link in the group, so they can just click the link.
Yes. Thank you. Participants, I request you to type kahoot.it in your mobile or any other devices other than the system in which you are attending. And I will be sharing, it will be asking a game pin. Please allow me to share that screen. Please type this game pin 802757. In your browser, it will be asking for your game pin. I got one player, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 17. When we reach 20 players, yes. Now let me start to play the game. When I am starting, please see the questions on the screen projection, then you answer in your mobile. Your question is on now. Which particular generation of computers is associated with artificial intelligence? Your answers are first, fifth, third, and fourth. So here, 5 people, you have answered correctly. The next question is, the scoreboard is here, who have answered very fast and correctly. Second question is now on. Quick draw experiment of Google is based on which domain? Natural language processing, data science, computer vision, none of the above. Computer vision is the answer. We have played this game now. Third question, which of the following is not an application of data science? Airline route planning, website recommendations, fraud and risk deduction, self-driving cars. The answer is self-driving cars, because self-driving cars based on the domain computer vision. Next question. Look at the below image and identify the domain. This is your image. Please identify the domain. It is data science or computer vision or NLP or all the above. It is computer vision. We all had the Snapchat filters. Yes. The input is image. The next question, the last question is true or false? Machine learning and deep learning are part of artificial intelligence. True or false? Yes, it is true. Machine learning and deep learning are subsets of artificial intelligence. So when you are finishing such a quiz, they will be giving you the marks also, who stood first. So who is the third place? Miss Amrita, the first, second place, and the first place. Yes, congratulations, Miss Sinju. Now I'm stopping the screen share. Again, I'm shifting to the PPT. So like this games, you can play with the students to create interest in them. And also you can use it as an assessment tool when you are finishing a chapter. So how to inspire students? AI doesn't need to be taught. Instead, it needs to be experienced. We are having, as I told you earlier, there are many hands-on activities like the games what we have played and Google AI experiments. You can search in Google. Many artificial intelligence experiments are available to inspire students, and quiz time like Kahoot, and group activities, debate, group discussion, research, pixel it. We will form a human neural network to explain, and they will scope a problem and they will find out AI project cycle. They will go through the cycle and individual activities like the letter to future self. They will write a letter to them in future by 2035. They will visualize how the world will be around them. So we are making them ready to face the challenges. And smart home floor plan, they will be drawing a floor plan. In that they'll be adding the smart features, and they will identify the smart features to which domain it belongs to. And then for the beginners, for the Python, to create interest, we can ask them to play the code combat so that it is the site to learn Python through games. So I have given some of the site names like site names like Code Academy, Code Combat, Data Camp. I think Data Camp is payable, but Code Combat and Code Academy is free. So you can ask your students to go there if they are beginners to play and to get acquainted with Python through games. Books and support material. What I have given here for class 9 and class 10, these books are available in CBSE websites. When you are the same, the site AI, if you are going there, the menu will be books. If you are clicking the books, all the support materials will be there. So for class 9, we have to teach the class 9 facilitator handbook. And I want to note, make a note that no student handbook they have provided. So you can give notes, or you can provide some question answers, notes, everything with the facilitator handbook. For class 10 also, you can give the notes, and or you can send the PDF of it. And employability skills, again the same. And you can tell the students employability skills, I think they can download. And Python content manual. It's very, very, very useful that what are the contents of Python we have to teach for class 9 and class 10 they have given. And external links also can be used as support material, that Geeks for Geeks, W3 Schools, and python.org is the site where you can download Python. Having said that, artificial intelligence is one of the most important things humanity is working on. It is more profound than electricity or fire. We have learned to harness fire for the benefits of the humanity, but we had to overcome its downsides too. AI is really important, but we have to be concerned about it by our respectful Mr. Sundar Pichai, CEO, Google. Thank you all once again. If you have any questions, please send your questions in the chat section to moderator Jayashree ma'am. Thank you once again, all participants, for listening. Thank you. Over to you, Jayashree
Thank you,
ma'am.
Ms. Rathi, for that wonderful interactive session and for giving us a brief introduction on how to introduce AI for secondary classes. I request all the participants to please post their questions in the chat. And I would now like to introduce our next speaker, who's a guest speaker from Dubai. She is Mrs. Arsha Bhushan, who is MTech in Embedded Systems, and she has worked as a software engineer in TCS for 4 years. She is the artificial intelligence teacher in GEMS, our own Indian school, Dubai, for the past 5 years. She is also the coordinator for STEAM and innovation. With this, I would now like to welcome our guest speaker, Mrs. Arsha Bhushan. Over to you, Mrs. Arsha Bhushan.
Thank you, Ms. Jayashree. Let me share my screen. Ms.
Yes,
Jayashree,
ma'am, your screen is visible. Yes, your screen is visible, ma'am. Thank you.
and I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are audible too.
Okay, thank you. So good morning all. Today's agenda is mainly I'm focusing on the basics of machine learning algorithm and how they have been distributed across grade by CBSE. So the topics covered will be the AI model and what is machine learning, then what are the different learning based approaches coming under those learning based approaches, and then how a project cycle of AI has been explained, and then how they are distributed across 9th and 10th grade syllabus. So before we start with our session, I just want to show you a few examples which we'll be using later in our session. So the first example I want to show you is O-Metrics chatbot. Now here, usually as already AI has been explained clearly by Mr. Dr. Sriram, then Ms. Joy, as well as Ms. Riddhi. So in short, AI is a machine which is able to do a task which usually require a human intervention. So if we think about a chatbot, we would expect a human to answer us. But as you can see here, this chatbot is going to be answered by a machine. So this will also come under the category of AI. But here there is a difference. Let's see what is it. In this chatbot is giving me some options, okay? And I'm giving the answer as one of those options, increase, and I haven't given the proper answer. So now, but it understood that it is increase in sale. But now when I'm answering these questions, I'm not going to answer the exact thing. I'm answering don't know or something different. So which the chatbot doesn't understand. So it takes us back to a um, particular page or a particular question. So this is how this chatbot works. Then let's move on to the next application. I'll be explaining about this in later in our models. It's just like, let's have a look at it, okay? So we have seen how this chatbot is working. Now let's move on to our next application. Yes. This is application AI application, which is teachable machine. There are many applications available in AI experiments by Google. This is one of those experiments. Here, for using this, I should switch off my camera because this is, as Radhi ma'am have said, this is using computer vision. So it will use webcam to train the machine to predict our output. So as I have given the heading already, I'm going to train it as pen and brush. So I'm switching on the webcam here and I'm holding a pen and I'm going to record that this is how my pen looks. Okay. Then I'm going to the second data, which is a brush. And I'm going to hold a brush here and record and tell the machine, okay, this is my brush. Now I have got two sets of data, which I can use to train the AI machine. So I'm training it. It takes some few seconds for the machine to take that content inside. We'll just take 2 minutes. Okay. Yes. So it is training the machine now. Yes. Now if you see here, because one of the picture in the brush was me without any pen or brush. It is showing brush here. Again, when I am showing the proper brush, it has understood that it is a brush and not a pen. You can see that in the output. But at the same time, if I'm showing a pen, it is understanding that it is a pen and not a brush. Let me show another pen. Maybe it may get a little bit confused here. So it's getting a little bit confused. So all this output is depending on what are the data I have given to it. The third one I want to show you is, let me include the system audio. Okay. The third application which I want to show you is, Miss Jayashree, can you please tell me whether you can hear the sound, the system sound?
Yes, I can hear.
Thank you. Okay, this is AI drum. Okay, yes, every dot here represents one music or one sound. You can select. I'm not a. Please excuse the selection, but you can select any four to create a. See here, see, all are like different music, like there's no connection between these data. This is some back paper noise, this is some binary ring. So there are like different voices or musics which have been put together so that we can create our own musics here. So after we have finished seeing the examples, let's so get into the main machine learning. Before getting into the machine learning, 1 minute, let me switch on my camera and stop sharing my screen sound so that it is not affecting you. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. Before, Now, before going into machine learning, we should know what is AI model is. Starting AI model started with where we want to predict an output. We have a machine which is able to predict something. So like the chatbot, where it is able to do something, it is predicting whatever I am saying, and it is leading to me a particular path. So that is how the AI actually started with. So these kind of prediction where I'm getting the output, where the expected output is, I'm getting that output, where I'm just giving some algorithm to get that output was called as the rule based. So as you would have seen in the example of chatbot, it is following a particular rule, or we can call it as it is following a particular script, where it is only taking you to a particular path only if you are giving the exact answer. If not, it is not able to lead you. So these kinds of AI models are called as rule-based AI models, where you're giving the algorithm and the AI is giving you a particular or a required output. Then when, as Ms. Joy was saying, the data science has come into picture, big data came into picture, and more on data, researchers on more on data started. So then came the learning-based approach, where the programmers started to see the models, that is the similarity between the data, so that they are started to predict the output according to the data. So when you start to use the data and you are trying to get a required output from any of these models is called as learning based, where the machine is continuously adapting itself according to the change in data, where it is learning according to the change in the data. Those kind of machines are coming under learning based machines. So again, this learning based machine is divided into machine learning and deep learning. Now, machine learning is what we will be seeing today. Deep learning is nothing but it is a collection of many machine learning algorithms. That is, it is a bigger picture of machine learning algorithm. So let's get into the learning. So as I have already said, the usual rule based, where we are giving the data and we are giving the rules for getting a particular output, is the rule based. But in machine learning, we have the data and we know what is the output I want, and the computer coming up with a required algorithm, that is your machine learning. Again, in this learning based approach can be divided into three parts. One is the supervised learning, then unsupervised learning, and then the reinforcement learning. Now, what is supervised learning? As the name suggests, we are able to supervise the data. The best example was, as I have shown in the example application, teachable machine, where I was supervising and I was saying to the machine that, okay, these are the data for pen and these are the data of brush. So you are able to supervise the data, or in short, the data is very well categorized, or we call it as a labeled data. You have a proper labeled data, then those kind of data will be using supervised learning approach. This is what we should know. Like as Mr. Sriram was showing the three stages. The first stage is the supervised, where we know that, okay, this is the data. And so I am able to come up with an easy algorithm, which is able to use to come up, which is able to understand the data and give you an output. Simple. So those will fall under supervised data. So as you would have seen in Teachable, I was categorizing or I was labeling the data as pen and as brush, and I was getting a particular predicted output according to that. Then comes the unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning is where you don't know anything about the data. You are not able to supervise the data. So where a number of data has been collected, but they are not properly labeled. So the first step in this, the machine, what it has to do is, it has to understand the data. Somehow it has to classify it to a particular category so that it is coming to understand a commonality between these data and coming to identify an algorithm which can predict an output. So these kinds of data, when we are getting these kinds of data, then we obviously will go for an unsupervised learning, where the first step of the machine learning algorithm will be to categorize the data so that then we are able to predict something. Yeah. So as you would have seen in the example of the drum, AI drum, there the data, the entire data was, there is no particular category. There are we were not categorizing it as like, okay, human data is in one part, animal data is in another part. No categorization was done like that. So what was happening there? Enormous data has been come, but I don't know how to categorize it. So the machine would have come to some conclusion. Maybe it would have categorized it according to its frequency or according to the base. It depends upon the programmer and the algorithm used. And they come up with the first step as the classifying it or clustering it into different categorization, and then coming with an algorithm which can predict the output. The last one is the reinforcement learning. That is the next level, where you are not expecting the machine to give a proper output at the starting. Here, you are allowing the machine to make mistakes, and then the machine is working on the basis of rewarding action. It can give either a negative reward or a positive reward, where if it is getting a negative reward, then it knows that, okay, this is not the algorithm I should follow, or this is not the path I should follow to get the actual output. And then once it starts to get a positive reward, then it will know, okay, this is what I have to follow. Like as example, the rock, paper, scissors, as you would have done in Radhi ma'am's session, you would have noticed that the machine was able to understand your movement within a few moves. So it is understanding, okay, if I'm giving this, I'm losing. So that is my negative. So usually what I have to do, I have to get some positive points. So it will slowly understand the path it has to take. Even Siri is one of the example where it is first, it may not understand your pronunciation, and slowly later it is very well, it is able to adapt to your pronunciation. So these kinds of learnings are reinforcement learning. I just want to show you a small video which shows the reinforcement learning. Okay. Here I think the subtitle is self-explanatory, so I'm not sharing the sound. So as you can see here, the machine is slowly understanding how to jump. It makes mistake, and then it gives a negative reward, and then it takes another path where it is understanding, okay, this is the path that I have to follow. There's no written rule that it has to go in this way. If you can see, the way the humanoid walking itself is totally different. It is walking sideways, not like us. So we have not given any proper rules there that you have to follow this way. It is finding its own way or its own, the better solution. I think because of my Teachable, my video is not getting on. I'll just close my Teachable so that my video is on. Just 1 minute. We'll just close this. Yes. Jayashree ma'am, my video is on now?
Yes, ma'am. You are visible now.
Thank you. So this is the 3 learning approach that we have to understand first before going into the machine learning or deep learning. So whenever we are selecting an algorithm for machine learning, then we should first identify what kind of data I have to use, or whether it is supervised or unsupervised learning, or am I going a step ahead and am I giving reinforcement learning for it? So first we have to select which approach I have to go with, and then we will be writing an algorithm. There are many algorithms which is already written on this, so there are few options which is available, and there are some students or some teachers who are writing their own algorithms also. So first thing is to understand the data. The data is the main thing in AI. As we all know, as a child, when it is born, if it is not having any, no child will be having any intelligence. It starts to develop the intelligence from the data which is collecting around it. It is seeing the mother, okay, this is my mom. It is collecting that data, and then is where it starts to act intelligently. Slowly it is changing its behavior. So this is the same thing for AI also, where data is very important. As Radhi ma'am has said, the other domains are NLP and computer vision. Though we are using natural language processing or computer vision, or both of this domain will be used on top of data only. Data is very much required. So according to the data is where we will be selecting which kind of learning I have to go with. And according to that, we will be selecting the algorithm. So I said with this, okay, I understood what is machine learning. I understood that, okay, I have to go ahead with the data. But how to create an AI machine? So the cycle which we have to follow for creating an AI machine is problem solving, data acquisition and data exploration, modeling and evaluation. Modeling is the place where algorithms come into picture. So as we say in problem solving, we are trying to understand the problem. We are finding what is the or which is the place where AI can come into picture, and who are the users, what are the different data that I can collect for the same. So these are the places. This is very important because until and unless you have a goal for your project, there is no use of starting a project. So it's very much important for you to set a goal for your project before you start doing an AI machine project. So here, problem scoping is a point where it's a step where you are giving a goal for your project. One of the most used method is 4W canvas, where you will be questioning on who is using this, what is the problem, or where is this problem is occurring, and what can be the solution, or why my AI should come into the picture. And this can help us to derive the goal for the project. The next step is obviously it is data acquisition and data exploration. So according to the problem, I have to analyze the problem and identify what are the right data I have to collect, and collect those data, visualize them. All the data need not be the correct data. So we have to clean few data. And the most important task to be done is when we are doing an AI project, the most important thing that we have to keep in our mind is we have to always have two types of data sets. One is the training data, another one is the testing data. We know that, okay, I have used these sets of data to create an algorithm where the machine is predicting an output, fine. But how will we test it? Until and unless we are having a data which we can compare and then test, there's no use of testing it also. So you should always have a testing data with you. So if, for example, you're collecting 100 data, you can divide them into 80 data for training and 20 data for testing. Or it all depends on the size of the data. The data can be divided into training data and testing data. Obviously, this is done through program, but when we are understanding that we need data, this is one of the important point that has to be taken into our brain. We need testing data to test our AI machine. And then comes the modeling. This is the place where, according to the data and according to the project, I will be selecting one of the domain or maybe more than one of the domain, and selecting the respective algorithm to be used, and will be writing a code with using my training data. Once the code is done, then I will be evaluating it using my testing data, analyze its efficiency. And if I feel that it is less efficient, I may change the algorithm, or I may change the number of training data and make a model which have a better efficient. So this is how I am writing an code, or I'm making an AI machine. So till now, what we have seen is what is machine learning and what are the different approaches you can have, how the data plays a role in it. Now, how it is distributed across 9th and 10th grade. Already, it has been explained in detail by Ms. Radhi, but still, I just want to tell you what, as a teacher or even as a student, what are we expecting from each grade to understand the overall picture of that same. So in 9th grade, they are able to understand why AI is important, what is the future of AI, what are the different domains, what is the ethics we have to follow in AI, what is this AI project cycle means, and the basics, the overall basics. They are not going into the detail of the domains, just the overall basics where they're understanding, okay, this is AI and a little bit of Python program. As we all know, the Python is very famous in AI, in famous code, which is used for AI applications. So CBSE has taken a right decision selecting Python to have taken Python so that the codes are, the ninth standard students are getting touch with the codes. And Python is also one of the easiest language to learn also. So the basics of Python have been taught here, as well as just a definition of what is neural network. Just to understand what is neural network is taken in ninth grade, where you are like understanding, superficially understanding what is AI, what is the important, and if I'm doing AI machine, or if I'm creating AI machine, what all I should be knowing is what is focused in ninth grade. And in 10th grade, the focus is little bit in higher level. They are, along with the ninth grade syllabus, they are focusing on understanding different libraries in Python, understanding how to code for different domains. So there are different codes given for OpenCV, as well as for the data science, whereas as Ms. Radhi said, NumPy, Pandas, Matplot has been explained, as well as there are a few algorithms explained for every domain. For example, for NLP, bag of words has been explained, for data, KNN algorithm is explained. So there are different algorithms have been explained, at least one algorithm is explained, so that you understand, okay, this is the algorithm I understood, but I may use a different algorithm based on the data. So this is the place where I have to use this algorithm. That's how the structure of 10th grade has been given, where the evaluation is also explained. I hope with this session, the teacher as well as the students will be got a knowledge on what they are expecting to learn in 9th and 10th, and what is, in short, what is the brief of machine learning. Thank you. Over to you, Jayashree ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sarsha Bhushan, for that excellent and detailed explanation with respect to machine algorithms. We will now proceed for the question answer session. And thank you. I have received a few questions, and there is one question for Mrs. Arsha Bhushan. Apart from Python, is there any other language with which we can implement AI?
Yes, there are many other languages like Arc is there, but Python is used mainly. The reason being, as I have said earlier, AI is like data. And when it is data, in Python, it is easier to handle data. Like in other languages, if you see, the list option is not much. Like in Python, we have list where different data types can be, just put together. There is no restriction on the data types. So our data which we are getting from users or from outer world is also like that. We don't have any, like the proper data set coming for us. So Python is one of the main reason why it is like we are using Python, because the data, it is easier to handle data. But other than that, there's no restriction on this. There are many other codes also used, but yes, Python is the mostly used. Like 90% it's used by they use Python.
Thank you, Mrs. Arsha. I think that must have cleared the doubt of the teacher who asked the question. We have another question. This question is for Ms. Joy. The question is, why is data strategy a hurdle to AI?
Ma'am, am I visible, ma'am?
Not, yes, ma'am, you are visible, yes.
Ma'am, data strategy is a problem right now. Data strategy is a hurdle because data for a educational institution it is huge. It is of different types. You have the data of a student, you have his date of birth, you have his parents' name, address, etc. So there are problems because we do not have clear policies in using this data in an effective manner. So there should be consent. So basically what happens here is there are privacy issues. There are issues that, it's not always advisable to share our information with everyone, isn't it? So data strategy is a hurdle because there are not very clear data policies regarding the data available in education institutions or anywhere around the world. So basically, we have to have policies ensuring that it is okay to use this data. Just like we do not want our emails to be shared or our likes and preferences to be shared and spammed unnecessarily through our email inbox. Likewise, it is important that data from schools or education institutions for that matter should be having a policy. There should be a clear policy to regulate the use. That is why data strategy is a hurdle, because finally it will involve ethics. How good it is or how correct it is for us to use information of students to make certain decisions. So is it right? Do we need to take the consent? All these are concerns. So for that, we need to have proper plans of data in place before we implement all this of AI. Over to you, Jayashree ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. There is another question for you. And then there are two more questions for Ms. Rati. So I will direct this question so that you can finish it off. The question they have asked is, what is blended learning? And can AI play a role in blended learning? Because I think recently we have had many CBSE workshops with blended learning. They have asked a query regarding the role of blended learning in AI, and can we use it now? Are we able to, because you had mentioned many things with respect to cost and the other things due to which we may not be able to implement AI, or we need to rethink implementation of AI. So this question is it being used, and does it play a role, AI, in blended learning?
Yes. As Jayashree ma'am has already stated, blended learning is a concept that we are all familiar with thanks to the different trainings conducted by CBSE. So blended learning is using different types, different ways. It is not just using an online medium and the classroom. Rather, it is about trying to ensure that the student has the freedom to learn from different ways. One could be the classroom, the other could be the lab, another could be the field. So it is basically a blend of different media to understand concepts clearly. And it is up to the student to use different media to understand. So this could also involve different types of devices. Now children are very savvy. So they might use a mobile, they might use a tab. All these are elements of blended learning, not just online. It can be lab work, hands-on experiment. It could be project-based, all these. Now, AI will play an important role because Education 4.0 basically involves in enhancing the the creative thinking of a student. So basically, it is more about hands-on, project-based. All these will help in developing the thinking capabilities of a child, preparing him or her for a future where they are viable, they are able to hold their own in such an uncertain environment. So blended learning is nothing but using all these elements. And right now for AI, it is known as active blended learning, and it is in place. It is actually a strategy for this is in place in certain universities in UK. They are using active blended learning. I hope I've been able to clear some aspect of this, Jayashree ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Joy, you have made it clear that what blended learning is and how we are currently using blended learning. And right now that I think artificial intelligence and blended learning is used in the UK more prevalently than anywhere else right now. I have a few questions for Ms. Rati.
Thank you,
Ms. Joy.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
I have a few questions for Ms. Rati.
Yes, Jayashree ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Rati. How can we make students accept new concepts like AI, because they are more focused on other subjects? So how do you think that this concept can be more acceptable to them, this subject?
Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. So how can we inspire students? Again, I have discussed. So with all other subjects, how we can motivate the students to inspire or to accept the concepts of AI? As we all know, the students are the digital citizens than us. They all know the AI applications, all they are surrounded with artificial intelligence applications. Only they are not knowing the basic concept behind it. So only we have to take that AI application which they are experiencing in their daily life and tell the concept behind it. So they'll be interested to know. And also, as I told, this AI curriculum is basically developed on many hands of activities and experiential learning. So when the students are given the concepts or explain the concepts through hands-on activities, through AI games, such things what we have done today, definitely I hope, I believe that they will get inspired and they will accept the subject of artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Ms. Rati. There is one question with respect to the difference between intelligence and consciousness, and can AI be equivalent to human consciousness? I think that question has been addressed to Dr. Sriram, but if any of you would like to take it, either you or Ms. Arsha or Ms. Joy, if you would like to take it, it's okay. Otherwise, this question I will forward to him.
I will try to give some points, ma'am. I hope. So, how the intelligence and human consciousness, how the machine can be given a human consciousness. So we are all talking about the weak AI and strong AI, weak artificial intelligence and strong artificial intelligence. So we are coming up with many AI models with many machine learning algorithms, in which certain machine learning algorithms, certain applications uh, can be narrowed at the specific task, and they are very well trained to perform those tasks. Only in those tasks they are trained with. And where the strong AI, we are into the developing, or some very few strong AI has been developed, and we have to go a long way to developing strong AI where it can equal to exact human intelligence. That is the human consciousness. So, but having said that, there are few industries where our human touch is needed, like healthcare, the nursing, and the children, with the younger, to nurture the children. So it is possible, and the researchers are going on to implement this strong AI, that is to instigate or to implement with the human consciousness. But again, we have to see the concerns about it also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rati. Yes, Ms. Arsha, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, I just want to add on with what Ms. Rati has said. So actually, yes, we are going towards making an AI machine, which is like having consciousness. So as said, by the term consciousness itself, we know it is just the data which has been put behind our brain, isn't it? It's nothing else but a data. So again, the machine which are able to store the data, okay, this is what was done, is already available. But if you say that we have something called subconsciousness, like which is like gone totally in and suddenly we take it, Again, those are datas, but for AI machine, there is no subconsciousness. Everything is conscious because they have stored everything in data. There is nothing that they have forgotten and they have to remember it later or something like that. They are conscious, like they are very much conscious on what is like. For example, the example of Siri itself, it is storing the data like this is how you have pronounced it, isn't it? So that is kind of being conscious. But there is no term called subconsciousness in AI because the data is very well stored and it is like available. So yeah, that's the only difference we can say in terms of human consciousness and AI consciousness.
Thank you, Ms. Arsha and Ms. Rati. I hope that has at least been able to answer the questions. They have been able to answer the questions. There is one more question with respect to whether AI has been introduced in class 11 and 12. And would Ms. Rati or Ms. Arsha be willing to answer this? I'm not sure whether they have started, maybe only from next year. But I think you
steps have been taken to introduce artificial intelligence in class 11, of course. And if you are seeing, you can see in the CBSE websites, they are asking the schools to send their interest to apply through the application form if they would like to, are interested to introduce artificial intelligence in class 11.
Thank you, Ms. Rati. With this, I would now, the question answer session, I would like to end the question answer session and hand it over the control to Ms. Joy Mary Nainen to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. On behalf of Pearl School, truly it was an enriching session. The true success of today's program has been possible not only due to our esteemed panelists, but also due to the support and guidance of Pearl School management. Our heartfelt grateful thanks to Qatar Chapter Principals Forum for this wonderful opportunity for us to gather inputs, discuss, and exchange ideas. On that note, thank you once again. Over to you, Jayashree ma'am.
Thank you all. I would request if we can switch on our videos for the photo session so that we can have another photo session before we wind up. Yes, please smile. Thank you all for the wonderful session. With this, I think you will be able to unmute yourselves. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well done all. Well done all the participants who joined with us today. And thank you so much to our esteemed panelists and Jayashree ma'am. Thank you so much. It was wonderful.